hello my good kittens. In this video we're going to be going through Navia's teams. We're just going to be explaining most of her meta teams and how to build a team for Navia generally. We're going to explain what she needs and why, and then we're going to give some team examples. So yeah, let's begin. Alright, so this video is going to be mainly split into 3 parts. First part is going to be her optimal team, where that's like her best meta team, where she's going to perform the best, the most damage and stuff like that. Second video is going to be like possible just random teams, where they're going to work. They're not the best generally, but they're definitely teams that can work. And then finally is going to be a Furina team. That's the team if you really want to use her with Furina. So yeah, let's begin. Alright, so first of all, starting off with the requirements for a Navia team. First thing you're going to need is definitely another Geo. You want that Geo resonance. It's going to help her a lot. So another Geo in the team is going to be kind of necessary. The second thing you're going to need is 2 Pyro, Electro, Cryo, or Hydro characters. That's pretty straightforward. You're going to get an attack buff if you use any of these elements. It can stack up to 2 times, so you definitely want your other 2 characters to be either Pyro, Electro, Cryo, or Hydro. Third thing you might need, this is not really a need to be honest, but it's definitely a good thing to have on a Navia team, and that's going to be attack buffs in general. She's going to scale pretty well with attack, so any characters who can provide like attack buffs or have sets or weapons that can provide attack buffs, Pyro Resonance for example, that can provide attack buffs, those are all going to be pretty good. Fourth thing that's going to be good to have is going to be off-field damage characters, so any sub DPSs who can deal like extra passive damage when they're off-field are going to be pretty good. Navia is going to take quite some field time, so she's not going to be comfortable playing like other fully on-field characters, maybe in like quick swaps and stuff like that, but generally speaking she's better to be played off with like off-field DPS characters. So any characters who can provide damage off-field are going to be pretty good. Fifth thing you're going to need is going to be off-field elemental applicators or enablers. You'd want to trigger crystallize like very consistently. Obviously you're going to have Navia and another Geo, so you're going to be good on the Geo side, and then obviously you'd want another character who can apply either Pyro, Electro, Cryo, or Hydro. I mean obviously your characters are going to be applying these because they're going to be these elements as we said before, but you'd want characters who can apply these elements at least somewhat consistently, because you'd want to make sure you're having like those crystallizes a lot so you can proc her elements with skill. So you want to make sure you have characters who can apply these elements. And then finally you generally would want a healer too. It depends on her team members and stuff like that, but a healer wouldn't be bad. You might not really always like need it specifically, but in most cases it's not going to hurt to have a healer on your team. It's going to make things much easier. So yeah, those are generally the things you want to need in a Navia team, and with knowing that, let's move on and build some teams. So first of all, let's start with the basic team that I would say is probably the best team right now for her. It's kind of basic, and I would say a lot of people might think it's boring, but that's it. This is her best team. So it's gonna be Navia, Zhongli, then Bennett, and then Xiangling. So obviously you're gonna have Zhongli for the Geo Resonance and then the shield. The shield is gonna help you out a lot, resistance to interruptions, stuff like that. Also, Zhongli is gonna give you the Geo Resistance shred, which is pretty good. You're gonna want Xiangling as obviously just an off-field damage dealer, and then also a very good pyro applicator. And then Bennett is going to be your healer and also your attack buffer. He's going to buff your attack a lot. Generally, you'd want to use Bennett with Navia, except for like some very rare cases when you're using weapons that are going to give you a lot of attack, like the Wolf's Gravestone, for example, or the Unforged or something like that. In that case, you might hit like dimensional returns on attack, but generally speaking, Bennett is going to be like a very good fit for Navia. I mean, like for everyone else, but yeah, it's definitely going to be one of her best teammates. Also, it's going to have the Pyro Resonance with Xiangling, so you're going to gain even more attack. So yeah, that's pretty much like a full complete team for Navia. If you want to build her for like a max potential, just for like a normal team, that's usually the team you want to go for, in my opinion at least. Also, you can probably use like different variations in that team. That's like a Pyro Geo team in general. So you can replace like Xiangling with like Toma, for example, and then replace Zhongli with like Albedo. The core of the team is just like 2 Geos and then 2 Pyros. So a lot of variations can work. As I said, you can replace Zhongli with like Albedo or even Ningguang, for example, as you're gonna make her the sub DPS, and then you're gonna get like Toma as a shielder. You can replace Xiangling with another Pyro. You can put even like Dea, for example, if you have her, with the tenacity of the Millet. You can do, there are a lot of options. So yeah, as I said, this is like the base of the team. Just 2 Geos, 2 Pyros. You're gonna get the Pyro Resonance and everything you need, and it's gonna be good. Bennett and Xiangling are gonna be probably the better options, but you can mess around with a lot of other options. Now, if you don't want that though, there are a lot of other team options that you can go for. As I said before, for any like cryo, electro, or whatever teams can work. So for example, you can have like your Navia and Zhongli, and then you can have any two other characters. Just you gotta be like off-field damage dealers. You might want a healer and you're good. So for example, you can go for like Navia, Zhongli, and then like Fischl, for example, she's gonna fit pretty well. And then let's say Bennett even. You can go Fischl, then Xingqiu, for example, is gonna work pretty well. You can go for like a free team, for example, Navia, then Zhongli or Ningguang or whatever, then Layla, then Xingqiu. You can go Yellen, then Xingqiu. You can even go like double cryo, like Shinha, then Layla, for example, or Shinha, then like Charlotte. Those are generally not gonna be like optimal teams, but what I'm saying is you can just mix up characters. As long as they deal off-field damage, you can probably make it work. That's what I'm saying pretty much. You just need two elements, Navia, a shielder, another like Geo, and you're good. To be honest, even the other Geo is not really that important in some teams. So if you feel like it, you can just like replace him with Bennett, for example, and it can work too. So you can go something like Navia, Bennett, then Fischl, Xingqiu, for example, just a basic team. There really are a lot of options. As I said, just make sure like they're mainly off field so they don't mess around with your like Navia on field time. Make sure they give you like the utility you need, and generally you're good. So yeah, those were like just some random teams I was throwing away. Now finally, I'm gonna put this in like a separate section, which is a Furina team. So I'm just saying that right off the bat, Furina doesn't really synergize pretty well with Navia. I mean, they can work, definitely they can work, but they're not really the best fit together. Even the characters doesn't really synergize pretty well, and also like teams wise, they're not the best fit, you can say. But if you want to use a Furina team, she's definitely gonna work. You can also do the double Geo, for example, like Furina then Ningguang. Zhongli is gonna make it kind of hard to gain like the fanfare stacks, but you're not gonna gain the full stacks anyway. So if you want to use them, you can, but you know, it's gonna be worse with Zhongli. You don't have Furina, and then you generally just want another healer who can heal you. A healer is gonna be very necessary with Furina. You cannot really run any comp with her without a healer, especially with Navia. So you definitely just want a healer that can heal you and doesn't mess around with like your Hydro application as much. For example, you can even use like Barbara for the Hydro resonance just to gain HP and stuff like that. Barbara and Navia are both gonna take advantage out of that, which is pretty good. But yeah, as I said, any healer who doesn't mess around with your reactions is gonna be pretty good. And yeah, I mean, C2 Furina is gonna be much better here. Like C0, C1, you're not gonna gain that much, you know, fanfare stacks. You're still gonna gain like decent damage bonus, but that's not like the optimal use for Furina. C2 Furina is gonna be much better, but hey, even C1, C0, if you wanna make it work, you definitely can. So yeah, that was the video, guys. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and see you guys in the next video. Peace.